Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the very first episode of The Beer Sherpa. Some of you guys know me from Off Square Brewing. I'm one of the longest time servers, bartenders, and one of the current managers that are running front of house. It's kind of one of these things that I just decided to start doing for some of our beers that we have on tap. I wanted to give the customer base, as well as some of you guys out there, a little bit of insight as to some of the different brews that we have on tap, as well as the different styles that generally we produce. This particular video is about actually one of my favorite beers that we have on tap. It is a beer called Headshot. Headshot is an India Pale Ale. We generally also call it an all Citra IPA. It is a very smooth IPA to drink. But before we get into actually talking about Headshot itself, I feel need to talk a little bit regarding IPAs. Some people don't like IPAs, some people do. For me personally, IPAs were never something that I gravitated towards, especially 6-7 years ago. I grew up after the age of 21 drinking a lot of lighter style beers, eventually on to lagers and stouts. And it wasn't really until I started getting into some of the more juicy or fruity IPAs where I really began to enjoy them. Once I began my journey into actually learning about beer itself and how beer is made and the process and the ingredients, I really began to enjoy beer for what beer is. And Headshot is one of those beers that I have truly enjoyed, especially this batch that we have on tap right now. So first and foremost, let's check out the stats regarding Headshot, shall we? So when it comes to Headshot itself, Headshot, again, is defined basically as a pale ale, an India Pale Ale, utilizing basically nothing but Citra hops. The Citra hops in general are going to give this beer a very citrusy and grapefruity type of nose to it. And if you guys don't know, taste is kind of reliant on smell itself. This beer is very hop forward, and it tends to have a nice light mouthfeel to it and quite a nice finish, especially this new batch that we have out right now. It is strong color with some moderate opaqueness, especially once we have the batch initially developed, and then it begins to clarify a little bit. This beer is about 7% ABV and is served in a 20-ounce Nonic pint. Now, when it comes to the grain build of this beer, we generally tend to utilize grain for a couple of different characteristics. Number one, color. So we end up utilizing at our brewery 2-row barley, which gives it that beautiful golden ambery color. Then we move on to our malt, and that malt is going to give this beer its sweet flavor. And then eventually we add in the dextrin, which improves its character as well as its mouthfeel. And finally, we add in just a little bit of caramel malt for a little bit of complexity. When it comes to yeast is one of those that is also going to develop several different characteristics depending on what style of beer you're looking for. For this particular beer that we have on tap, we actually ended up utilizing an English ale yeast, which is going to give it some malty characteristics, but with some fruity esters involved as well. So here we go. I've gone ahead and I've poured myself a delicious glass of Headshot. It is one of my favorite beers that I've kind of grown to appreciate more and more, especially the more that I have found out about beer, about what goes into it, as I've said before. So here we go. generally the first thing I always do, as well as those that are beer connoisseurs, is we go in when we smell the beer. The smell is going to give us a good aspect as to what goes into the beer. And there's several different techniques as to getting those aromas out. And number one is that short smell. Others, you're going to cover it, you're going to swirl the beer around a little bit in order to get some more of those aromatics out. A lot of times that's going to bring out even more of the fruity notes, the herbally, in terms of the aromatics. You can also do small sips, as well as simply nothing but like foam sips, in order to get some of those hoppy oils out, to see what other kind of characteristics are kind of hidden within the beer itself. So here we go. Cheers. Short little sip. So the first initial bit that I get is all citrus. And that citrus tends to linger about halfway through your palate, and then you begin to pick up a little bit on the bitterness of the grapefruit. And then finally, the maltiness of the grain build kind of comes out right towards the middle. And then you get that lingering effect of the hops towards the back end. It then begins to kind of clear out, and it kind of almost kind of begs you back for another taste. This beer is just such a good sipper. It is great on a hot day, as well as even on a cool day, like it is here. Today is actually Halloween, and it is like spitting snow outside. So this is a great beer to kind of stay inside, keep warm, and to enjoy this beautiful fall weather that we are just now starting to have. So there we go. Our very, very first episode of the Beer Sherpa. I hope you guys have enjoyed. I will begin doing this a little bit more frequently for some of our beers, to give you a little bit of insight as to what exactly we're doing, and how our beers taste, what they look like. And hopefully you guys can make it out to Off Square Brewing. We're located in Crown Point, Indiana. And we've got awesome lineup of about 20 beers, including one in-house seltzer. We also have an amazing kitchen staff that kicks out awesome food, with weekly brisket items, as well as at least one feature menu item throughout the week that generally runs through the weekend as well. So thank you guys for joining us on the very, very first episode of the Beer Sherpa. Cheers.